Okay, I don't know how to start with it, but here it comes. I'm sick and tired of charity tandas. Honestly, I'm done with them. They always feel awkward, forced, and totally miserable. But wait, have I ever danced a charity tanda? When was that? Maybe never, because sometimes what looks like charity might not be charity at all. Welcome to Good Night Tango, your channel about tango in real life. I'm Christos, I'm dancing tango for 8 years now, and for the last 3 years I'm also writing about that in my blog. So let me start with a question. Why do we call these tandas charity tandas? Charity, if you take it from real life, usually is when you help somebody that cannot help themselves. Like, for example, you give money to an organization who helps children that are in need out of a family or whatever else. The children cannot help themselves. They need somebody to help them, so you give your help to them. But in tango, when we dance with a person that is not as experienced as us, when we dance with a beginner, why do we assume that this is a charity? Can they not improve? Can they not help themselves, take classes and get better? Because if they do, then I wouldn't see that as a charity. I would see that more like an investment. In an investment, you give something now, you put some money into a stock, into an asset, and you expect to have a return back sometime later, in a couple of years, in decades, or whatever else. The same can happen in tango. You can help somebody now, and you can expect something back because in a couple of years you expect that they will be good dancers and you will be enjoying the dance with them. And obviously, as in all investments, return is not always guaranteed. You might help somebody now and they might not improve and you might stop dancing with them. But in other cases, you may help them now and after a couple of years, they might be great dancers and you might enjoy dancing with them. So you invest in different dancers, you invest in different stocks, assets, and you expect something back. Not all of them will have success, not all of them will be returning you something, but the return that you will get from some of them will balance out the loss that you have from others. The same can be applied maybe in tango, when you diversify and you dance with different like beginners or different newcomers in a milonga. You expect that some of them will appreciate it and come back later and improve, and later on, you have more people, more options to dance with in the milonga. So when you see somebody who is an experienced dancer dancing with a newcomer, a beginner, or whatever else, and you assume that this is a charity tanda because they don't enjoy it or whatever else, maybe think about it again. Maybe they don't do it out of charity, but they do it like an investment because they expect to get something in the long term back. Moreover, the other problem with charity tandas in tango is that in contrast with charity in real life, they done in public. What I mean is when you donate to a cause, to a charity organization in real life with money, you do it in private. Nobody else needs to know how much you contributed. Nobody else needs to know that you contributed at all. Many of the charity that happens without really publicly announcing it, publicly showing it. In tango, we cannot avoid showing that we are dancing with somebody that is not really experienced. I mean, everybody knows and everybody sees who we're dancing with. So it is unavoidable to have these publicly announced charity tandas. And this creates a kind of social comparison dynamic. You can see some people contributing more, you can see some people contributing less. You can see some people dancing more with beginners, some people dancing less, some people dancing not at all with beginners or whatever else. And this creates a dynamic that is really dangerous because some people seem to contribute more and some others not. And this creates a comparison that either makes you feel like you are the only one contributing and you feel like being played, being mocked. And other times, if you're not contributing at all and you don't want to contribute at all, you feel like you're being forced to contribute because everybody else does it. But let's think about it. What is the value of a tanda? I mean, when I dance with somebody that I don't know, when I dance with a beginner or when I dance with a not experienced dancer, what is the value? What is the cost that I pay for dancing with them? Is it really so high? Maybe I'm dancing a tanda of an orchestra that I don't really like. It doesn't cost me anything. Maybe I'm dancing a tanda of an orchestra that I really like, and I would prefer to dance it with somebody else. And this is a much bigger cost from my side because I'm sacrificing something that I love. So looking at all these other parameters changes a little bit the character of charity. You may see somebody dancing a lot with beginners, but maybe they're dancing to tandas that they don't like at all, so it doesn't really cost them something. And some others that are maybe experienced, but they dance to tandas that they really love with beginners, and this really cost them more. So judging and comparing with others in terms of how much they contribute or what they contribute, you don't really know what they contribute. You don't really know if what they contribute is a high value from their side, or if it is something that doesn't cost them anything. And this cost of a tanda for somebody who is a dancer, an experienced dancer, can be different also based on their wealth. For example, if I'm a quite wealthy owner, quite wealthy tango dancer, if I can say so, and my tango wealth, if I can somehow equate that to a wealth, is like $1 million. Dancing and giving to somebody 100 doesn't really cost me anything. But the same 100 of energy, of enjoyment and pleasurable experience for somebody else who has a wealth of like 10,000 or 100,000, which is much less from my wealth, might be much bigger as a sacrifice, might be much more generous than what I do. So yeah, generosity and the kind of donation that you give into this charity doesn't really equate to the amount of tandas that you dance. You may dance just one tanda with a beginner. It might be high value and a big donation from your side, if you see it as a donation. And from other side, from other dancers, for other dancers, something that seems like not even a charity at all might be a big charity, a big donation from their side. So there is this illusion that we donate publicly, as I said in the beginning, but this is just an illusion. We seem to donate publicly. We show up what we do, and we show that we dance with somebody that is not experienced. But in reality, how much do we give and how much does this cost for us is not known to anybody else apart from us. It's totally private. And this social comparison between different dancers and how much they contribute to the social environment, to the community, leads to the problem of the forced tandas. So you feel either implicitly or even explicitly. There are people that are being asked to dance with newcomers and beginners just because they are good dancers, and people would appreciate that. And this leads to this people being forced to contribute without actually wanting that. But do you really want, like as an organizer, as a community leader, to force people to be generous? Is that actually generosity? Or how much will they actually contribute to a tanda when they dance being forced in it? Will they actually want to dance in it, and will they do it with pleasurable, and will they provide a general pleasurable experience to the other partner? All doing it out of obligation will lead to something that is purely transactional and not really meaningful. Because these meaningless tandas, in the end, do they really contribute? Do they really pay off? The people who receive a meaningless tanda and they feel that dancer who dances with them doesn't really dance with them, doesn't really contribute anything, it's just an empty transactional tanda for them, then do they really appreciate it? Do they really receive something that they want to give back? And the more we are pushed into this direction, the more the social environment, the more the community will start seeing these tandas as purely transactional, as an obligation. And obviously, the dance itself in the community loses its meaning. Moreover, there is another phenomenon in charity that you can take into the tango community as well. When you have a charity, when you have an organization that like 1 million people donate to that, if they donate each of them 10 euros, for example, then you gather 10 million euros. But if the same million of people don't donate all of them, and just like 100,000 people donate to that, then obviously you need a much bigger contribution from each one of them in order to reach to that same point. So when everyone in the community is actually donating something into this charity, then it becomes much easier and much less effort to actually donate something in the charity. And this collective effort, this communal effort of helping beginners, helping newcomers come into the community and dancing with them, creates an atmosphere of non-judgment. If everybody is willing to chip in, if everybody is willing to give something out of what they have in tango to somebody who is not so experienced, then there is no judgment and there is no actual comparison between how much I contribute and how much I don't. And in the end, the more people that contribute and the more the community as a total, as a community as a whole, contributes to charity, contributes to newcomers, to beginners in the social environment, the more free you feel to not really contribute every time. So if I go to a milonga and I know that all the community, the whole community, actually has this mindset, collective mindset of contributing and helping newcomers and beginners in their dance, I can go to a milonga and I can say, today I don't feel like dancing with somebody that I don't know. I just want to have a nice experience with the friends that I already know and dance only with them. But then I can go to another milonga and I can feel like I want to dance with somebody that I don't know. I want to dance with a beginner. I want to dance with somebody that is not so experienced. I will do that. And this comes without any judgment. This comes without any feeling of comparison, because I can feel free that if I don't contribute today, somebody else will come and compensate for me. But the same can happen on my side. I will compensate in another milonga for another person that doesn't want to contribute at that point. If there is a general feeling and a general communal effort and general community atmosphere, generous atmosphere, I would say, then it really makes it much easier to contribute and to contribute whenever you like, without being pushed, without being forced, and without actually contributing meaningless tandas into the community, into dancing with beginners. And then every contribution actually counts, because when I contribute from a place of generosity. I contribute from a place of abundance. I feel that I have quite a lot of joy and quite a lot of happiness and quite a lot of emotions that I want to share. And I'm willing to do that with a beginner. I'm willing to do that with a non-experienced dancer, and I will do that. This comes from a place of generosity and not from a place of coercion to do that. So the less judgment and social comparison exists in a community, and the less you try to force these charity tandas out of people, the more you cultivate this kind of generosity approach, the more you cultivate a generous atmosphere in the community. And in the end, these charity tandas actually happen by themselves, without being forced, and from a place of genuine generosity, and not just fake transactional effort. So having said all that, I believe we can understand that there are some takeaways, some tips maybe from both sides of the equation, from both for the donors and also from the acceptors on the kind of charity tandas, if we can say so. The first kind of advice or tip would be for the acceptors of charity tandas. And I would challenge you to think about that and think about if you are willing to be an acceptor of charity. Because as I said, charity usually goes to people who are not really able to help themselves. You have agency, you have your own body, you have your own mind, and you can actually improve and you can actually work to become a better dancer. So whenever a more experienced dancer dances with you, don't feel like this is out of charity. Take it more like an investment and think that you are an asset that you have to grow in order to actually return some of the value back to the investor, back to the person that danced with you. The same also goes for the other side. Don't look at dancing with a beginner or an inexperienced dancer as a charity tanda. Look at it more like an investment for your own better dances in the future. Because in the end, if you don't invest in the beginners, if you don't invest in the newcomers in the community, you will end up with a community that has a very much limited amount of people that you are enjoying to dance in the end. And in the end, you're not hurting anybody else but yourself. So contributing and investing doesn't mean that you're not allowed to say no. You are allowed to say no, and you are allowed to invest. So you can choose and you can do whatever you like. Don't feel like you are judged because you said no. Don't feel like you're judged if you don't invest or if you don't dance with somebody who is asking you. So if you don't feel this judgment, you are much more willing to contribute to any way that you like in the community. And this leads me to the next point, which is you can contribute to the community, to having a better community, even without actually dancing with a beginner or an inexperienced dancer. You know, there are other ways that you can make somebody feel welcomed in a community. You can just like chat with them, or you can just say hello, smile, things like that. Very easy and not really costly things that you can do to make sure that they don't feel like you are cold. You don't have to actually dance with them. You can just say hello, pay a compliment, do something else that makes them feel seen in the community, makes them feel that they are there and they belong somewhere, and you actually acknowledge that. When it comes to the community level, I think the best thing that we can do is to stop being so judgmental and compare ourselves to the others, how much we contribute, or today I danced with so many beginners and this other guy didn't dance at all, or the other way around, or whatever else. Don't be so judgmental and so don't compare yourself so much to the others. Because in the end, your contributions and the other person's contributions, you don't really know if they are equal. Instead, I would advise to reflect on your own generosity and your own contribution. Think about how much tango wealth you have and how much you contribute to the community, and judge only this. If you feel that you don't contribute enough, if you feel that you are not generous enough and your contributions don't come from a place of generosity, then examine that and adjust. If you feel that you're over generous and oversharing and contributing too much to the community, maybe you need to dial it down. You are free to do that, but reflect only on your own tango wealth, on your own contributions, and just adjust them so that they are according to what you want to contribute. And this in the end will contribute to a community that is healthier, where everybody feels they are not being judged and compared to others, and feels free to contribute whenever they like, however they like, and however much they like also. So let me know in the comments, have you ever felt that you're being forced to dance a tanda that you don't like, that you don't want to dance out of charity, that you were asked to contribute a tanda as a charity tanda? Or actually you are dancing with beginners and not experienced and newcomers in the milongas just because you want to invest in them and you want to let them feel welcomed and come back again and again? What is the general mindset that you have in your community? Is it a social comparison and judgment mindset, or is it a mindset of generosity and abundance where everybody feels free to contribute whenever they like, however much they like? So I believe now you understand that I'm really done with charity tandas, and actually maybe I never danced a charity tanda in my life. If you also want to know how I handle rejections and how I used to handle rejections and how I see them now, this video over here tells my story. Check this out and don't forget to move forward both in the dance floor and in your life. Bye!